From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life. With Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters, this is 2020. Did you hear about the New York lottery hoax? Jackpot $35 million. This woman claimed she had the winning numbers. Some reporters bought it.
Is that unbelievable?
Alan Abel was the mastermind. He's always playing jokes on the media. Reporters also bought his phony school for beggars.
Be polite. Say, pardon me, sir. Thank you. You got to use manners, because as soon as you use manners, people are going to be shocked.
Lynn Scher, with a few laughs and favorite tricks of the Joker.
Do you ever wish that some of us in the media would get our comeuppance, huh? Well, last week it happened to some of our colleagues, not just in New York media, but around the nation, even overseas. The ingredients for a hoodwink were a lottery jackpot of $35 million, a convincing actress, and some very carefully laid plans. But the story that Lynn Scher tells goes beyond a page-one con job. She found that the master joker behind it all has quite a record of duping those who should know better.
His name is Alan Abel, a name many people in the news business would like to forget.
You're watching WIXT, Central New York 9. Now the news
is over for an aspiring actress who claimed to be the winner of New York's $35 million
woman who claimed she won that state's $35 million lottery.
The truth is, you can't believe everything you hear or read.
Not if Alan Abel is behind it. Most recently, with a journalistic hoax that was so successful it tricked a surprising percentage of the press corps. When this woman threw a party celebrating her good fortune as the sole winner of the $35 million New York State lottery, reporters and TV crews came too, and millions in New York City saw these pictures on TV. Her reaction made perfect copy.
I saw the ticket, and I can't believe it. I'm still in shock.
As it turns out, she was good copy because her lines had been carefully scripted. A few of the news people didn't get it. Didn't even bother to confirm her phony winning lottery ticket. So they didn't realize that the woman, who called herself Charlie Taylor, was actually Lee Chirillo, a 30-year-old actress who has teamed up with her buddies before to pull the wool over the eyes of journalists. How did they do it? We asked the gang Abel calls his merry pranksters to let us in on some of their secrets. Everyone had a role.
Well, I went down to the reservation desk and I said, are you aware the $35 million lottery winner is in room 450?
The idea was to create an aura of excitement. Alan Abel, author and lecturer, was the mastermind.
I think the best ploy, and I'll tell you what bothered me, I was very concerned about when we threw 12 $1 bills out the window. Now, we're on the 4th floor, and it was windy out there, and Paul, some of the dollar bills sort of float out in the street. You see that man in the van stop and pick up a dollar?
Yes, indeed, I did.
That was beautiful.
He did? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Abel, hiding in the hotel bedroom, even had some last-minute advice for his star.
When I first came into the room, did you see I was all dressed up? And Alan says, no, you're all wrong. I want you to look like a wreck. Put a hole in your stocking. Mess your hair up.
Yeah.
Terrible. Don't be so dressed up. Get rid of the earrings.
You were party perfect. I mean, what do you think, you're going to a cocktail party? Well, no.
They'd carefully selected the location to ensure good news coverage.
Well, the reason we chose the 4th floor, remember, is that we gave easy access to those television crews so they could run back to their stations quickly if they had to use the stairs rather than the elevator. Now, this is when we plan our next escapade, we have to include all of these factors. We have to make it easy for the press to write their stories. And if they don't get back to their assignment desks quickly, there's going to be a problem.
You might wonder why any adult would want to waste his time over the past 25 years planning such adolescent antics, especially if he's a mature 62 years old. Well, Abel insists he does it all strictly for laughs. Watching Abel leave his home in Connecticut on his way to work looks a little like a joke itself, casually strolling through woods and underbrush to get to his office, which just happens to be a bright red 50-ton railroad caboose parked in his backyard. He uses it as an escape hatch and calls it his dream machine. It is in the caboose, a tight squeeze under the best of circumstances, that Abel dreams up many of his hoaxes, writing out his plans for the future, scheming his next caper, and fighting to change what he calls an unjust world.
The lottery. Why did you decide to do the lottery scam?
Well, I've always objected to the lottery, per se. I think it's kind of a scam because it offers all this money, and then if you win the money, you don't get the money. You know, they put the principal in the bank and pay you the interest, and they dole it out over 20 years. And also, the first prize may be $10 million, but the second prize, if you miss the sixth number by one digit, is like a few hundred. They give you peanuts. The disparity in this is unfair.
When you set about to do one of your, what do you call them, hoaxes, tricks, fraud?
Oh, no, they're not fraudulent in the sense that no money changes hands. There's no intent to deceive anyone of any funds or anything tangible that could be a violation of the law. The intent is to amuse, to provoke, to give people a healthy kick in the intellect and make them laugh a bit.
Abel's first major success as a hoaxer came a few decades ago when he created the Society for Indecency to Naked Animals. You may recall its platform: put pants on dogs, cats, and other animals. In reality, it was a fight against censorship.
There are moral maniacs out there who want to put censorship on everything, on books, on records, on films. They want to tell you or me what we should read, hear, and see. And that's wrong, absolutely wrong. Where will they stop? They won't. They allow it to go out now and put pants on telephone poles and call them phallic symbols, right? So I say, all right, let's clothe all these naked animals. Let's do an allegorical satire. We'll put Bermuda shorts on horses. A nude horse is a rude horse.
Can you imagine anyone taking him seriously? That's what they did another time, too, when Abel put a hood on his head and called himself Omar the Beggar, head of a school to teach other aspiring panhandlers how to make a living.
You got to make the pitch. Remember, you got 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. That's all. Go up to the guy, touch him on the sleeve, make your pitch, be polite, say, "Pardon me, sir."
Once again, the media came running, unaware they were filming Abel and more of his merry pranksters.
Bark down, manners, manners, manners. You got to be.
This was a subtle protest about the homeless. Here are people living in the streets. We live in the greatest country in the world with the capacity to put men on the moon, and yet we can't help our homeless. We can't find homes for them. We can't get social workers to solve their problems. What's wrong? Then teach those homeless to beg professionally. Send them out there so they can earn $1,000 a week.
Could you by any chance spare a nickel?
The victims this time were from Canadian TV. They produced this perfectly serious report. But the homeless problem was so timely, many U.S. journalists fell for it too. By the way, Omar's School for Beggars is still listed in the New York City phone book.
I would really appreciate whatever you could afford. Even
the beggars, of course, were Abel's actors.
Good luck. Thank you.
He says he's got a Rolodex full of people worldwide who want to play games. And he surprised us by claiming that the recent Soviet reports of Martians landing near Moscow were engineered by some of his protégés.
So we sent them the plans for creating a UFO, which was a large weather balloon filled with helium. It had a tape loop that played back the theme from Twilight Zone. We had pencil flashlights, red, green, and blue, that turned on and off.
Don't forget, Abel is the same guy who ran his own obituary in the New York Times, who ran his own wife, Jeannie, for President of the United States, as Yetta Bronstein, housewife. And when he isn't driving assignment editors to distraction, he's teaching a whole new generation of pranksters how to get along. One of his favorite ploys, a way to get himself a 3-seater on a crowded cross-country airplane.
I get on the plane, and I sit down in a rear window seat. I get on as soon as I can, and the first thing I do is put this string in my mouth. Now, suddenly, 2 people come who just sit next to me who are assigned to that seat, and they're usually a tractor salesman or an embalmer, you know, and I'm not going to want to talk to these people all the way to California. And they say hello, and they ignore the string, but they begin to get a little concerned about this stranger. What will happen if they pull the string, or if I pull it? Now we start to take off, and everybody on the plane is looking around at the stranger with the string. As we get to our cruising altitude, it is possible to take off your seatbelt and change seats, which is what they do. Because there's something about a stranger with a string that discourages friendship.
When we left Abel, he was at it again, plotting a new way to raise Cain. For him, it's a way to remember we shouldn't take ourselves so seriously. But for many of his victims, it's an embarrassment they'd rather forget.
He seems to enjoy what he's doing anyway. Lynn, as a journalist, what would you say is our best safeguard as journalists against being taken in by a hoaxer like this?
Well, Hugh, we are very vulnerable. And, you know, lots of people out there are trying to fool us, even the United States government on occasion. And the idea is we should not be so gullible. Alan Abel's advice is whatever you hear or see, check it out thoroughly. Look between the lines. And he says if something seems too good to be true, it probably isn't true.
What's in it for him?
Well, you know, it's true. He does like to make people laugh. But in fact, he does speeches and he writes books. And every time one of these things happens, his fee goes up.
Great. Thank you, Lynn.